The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv.
And it's a cold one out there.
It's a cold one in this studio.
Yeah, I know. Can keep meat in here.
Yeah, we could hang some meat up in here. It's like a meat locker in here. But, you know, the state's got to save some money.
That's it.
So they can spend it on something.
Well, let me tell you something. It's better than when it's a sweat box in here because we've had that. We've had that before too.
Yeah,
so remember, don't complain.
Yeah. So you got a sheet in front of you. You want to go there first? Or
Yeah. Well, you know, I thought it was interesting because I did see this ZBA meeting, and 2 more apartment developments are in the works for Fall River. Oh, no kidding. It's more market rate housing, and this development, though, is in the 5th Street area. And I'm going to refer to the area, as Ken Fiola did, as impoverished.
Well, everybody's impoverished by his, if they compare it to his income.
Right.
I mean, but it is. It's one of the lower, it always has been.
Right. And it's also one of the highest crime areas.
Yeah. And it's always been one of the lowest socioeconomic levels in a city, in the area. The Flint, Corky Row, you know, that was always, the lower income, and lower middle class. If there's no middle class left anyway, there's no lower middle class. They're all impoverished now, but that's always been an area. And you know, market rate housing. That's like, you know, that's like sticking the Taj Mahal in the middle there. Expect people to be able to afford it. I mean, that's not even market rate housing. What they're doing is they're attempting to gentrify it by pushing everybody out, because as Kenny said about another development, he said even with their Section 8, they won't be able to afford this. So, so these people have a total disregard for the average people in Fall River. They're going to just, you know, they don't care. They just push everybody out. It's kind of like the immigrants at Martha's Vineyard. Get them out of here. Get the National Guard. But we're
Send them to New Bedford and Fall River.
We're not going to get the National Guard to push them out of Corky Row.
No.
And it's too bad because, you know, this community is made up of working poor, fundamentally.
Right.
People who go to work and have to live paycheck to paycheck, but then again, that's 2/3 of the country, but these people don't care.
Right.
And I would say I'd make a bet on that, but then again, somebody said I shouldn't be trying to make bets because I'm on a fixed income, and I am, but I still bet. But I know
and you do pretty good when you do it.
But I noticed you didn't want to take the bet because you knew you were going to lose. So, but yeah, it's you know, it's disturbing because the thing that disturbs me, and look, this article is okay. It's the article. It's factual. But the thing that disturbs me is, you know, we're in a campaign season. Every single commercial is a political commercial. And virtually every single commercial, whether it's, you know, it's Dan McKee for governor, $250 million for affordable housing. This one for affordable housing. That for
Maura Healey,
Maura Healey.
Affordable housing.
The biggest problem in the state of Massachusetts is affordable housing, not for the poor, but for the average citizen.
Exactly.
This is one of the worst states in the country to live because rents are astronomical. And this is what disturbs me. This city is like, they got blinders. They're oblivious. It's like nobody even there's no problem. Just let them kick them to the curb. Or as somebody said in front of the council, let them move to Russia. Let them go find another place to live. Well, they can't because they're at the last stop here. Fall River, New Bedford are the last stops for rent. And now when they do this, you notice you don't see this kind of market rate housing glut in New Bedford.
That's right.
And as a matter of fact, Mayor Mitchell has made a commitment to affordable housing.
That's right. Unlike our mayor.
Unlike our mayor,
That's
exactly. Right. Unlike our mayor.
Unlike our mayor. Although our mayor did volunteer to take in the Venezuelan refugees, as they now call them, from Martha's Vineyard. And where's he going to put them? They can't afford market rate housing.
Well, maybe he'll get the government to pay their tab. Like he said, all these places, market rate was full, but we found out they're full of people who are temporary because their government is housing them because they're at the Newport Naval Base.
Right.
You know, and that segues me into another issue about these people. I know you had a little tete-a-tete, let's say, when you tried to buy a coffee with somebody attacking you about the MBTA.
Yep.
So they told you, you know, what do you know, they're going to come down here from Boston and come on, buddy. They're coming down from Boston. If they got the money to shop in Boston and live in Boston, they're not coming to Fall River. We keep saying it. You people think they could come to Fall River? They could go to Attleboro. You know, they could go to a lot of other communities that are safer, have better educational systems, and have a lot more to do. All you got to do is drive up the road to Taunton. Taunton's what, 1/3 the size of Fall River?
Yes. Yes.
They got more restaurants on Route 140 when you get off at the 140 exit, or even the 44 exit. You drive 2 miles in either direction, there'll be more restaurants on that stretch than they got in the entire city of Fall River. And different types of restaurants.
Exactly.
Not just Portuguese. They've got everything. But these people, they're delusionary. It's like, sure, yeah, they're going to come. Of course, yeah, they're going to come down. They're going to take a 2.5-hour ride down to Fall River. Listen, if they wanted to come to Fall River and they had that kind of money, they could drive to Fall River, because I don't know anybody that's got that kind of money that doesn't own a car.
That's right.
So if they wanted to come to Fall River, they'd already be coming to Fall River. You think that a train and a 2.5-hour ride on a good day, that's what they're going to do? Because that's how enticing it is to come to Fall River? You're wacky. I'm sorry. You're wacky. And I know you have to take all kinds, but you know, you held your own. You made.
I always can.
You know, you held your own, but it's getting bad when you get verbally assaulted when you're trying to buy a coffee.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the arguments I had, and I put this forward. I said, look, the state made a big mistake, because his argument was, we've already spent the money. I love when they use that. We've already spent the money. That's not our problem. You spent the money because you didn't ask the people. And the politicians didn't want to ask the people because they wanted to put it here. Because we've been asking for it for 30 or 40 years. Well, guess what? 30 or 40 years ago, it was a different city. Yeah. People were working. People would get on the train back then and go to Boston and have a good time. People would get on the train and go to Boston for their medical appointments. People would get on the train and go to Boston to have a day out or a weekend out, whatever the case may be. But today is a different time. Everybody has a car. Everybody wants to drive. If everyone didn't want to drive, 24 would have looked the way it does. Yeah. You know, I mean, let's get real.
Yeah, 24 looks like Boston now. Yeah. Years ago, when you got out of Boston, made the split at Braintree, and you got on 24, it was like clear sailing.
Exactly.
No longer that way.
Nope.
It's just like you're driving through Boston all the way to basically Taunton.
Right.
Then after you get by Taunton, it thins out a little bit.
And, you know, another statement that was made was that, well, you guys are all about wasting money. Now look at all this money that we'll be wasting if we don't get the train. Yeah, again, we didn't have a say in that.
We didn't waste it.
That's right.
They used it illegally. And by the way, it's not our money. It is our money because the entire state pays for this, and the feds do, and the MBTA communities. But we're not an MBA authority community right now. And that's the problem. These people think you put it on a, you know, it's like when you look at something on a scale, risk reward. The financial risk that we're accepting forever because this will never go away. Once it's here, versus the reward's going to be negligible because, number one, most of the people can't afford rent in Fall River. They're not going to Boston on a T. Sorry. They can't afford the rents by their own admission. These people who have developed these since said Fall River people can't. So, I mean, it's absurd when you look at this but the thing that's the most disturbing is when somebody, see, it shows that their brainwashing works. That individual you were talking to has been brainwashed by the Hitler Goebbels tell a big enough lie. It's all, you ever notice something about Fall River? They always have the same excuse when they do things illegally or without the permission of the people. They go, well, we got to pay for it now. The state will come down and take us over.
That's right.
Oh, they already did it, so we got to pay. No, we don't. No, we don't. I can guarantee you, at that meeting that you talked about in the weekend flush on the 13th of this month, somebody is going to ask the question of those people, why did you start phase one? And was it legal for you to start phase one without asking the people if they wanted it?
Right.
Because that's what the law says. It doesn't say you can build it and then say, oh, by the way, do you want it? Because we've already spent the money to build it. Well, that's your problem.
They're using the mantra, if we build it, they will come.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But the only people that'll come down from, listen, Fall River's been Fall River since Fall River was Fall River. Boston, too. Since pre-United States, for God's sakes, for Boston. How many times have you seen masses of people from Boston coming down here to do anything? Because there's really nothing to do. The last time I heard of people from Boston coming to Fall River was when they had a drug bust on Pleasant Street, and there were people from Boston down here to buy drugs.
Right.
I didn't hear of anybody coming down to walk up and down an empty Pleasant Street or an empty South Main Street.
Well, and that's one of the things that's in this article about walking up and down. The reason why market rate housing is so important now for this area of the city is because it will make downtown Fall River more walkable. We'll have a walkable downtown Fall River for people to enjoy downtown Fall River. Now, remember, this also goes in line with the T, because what's happening with the T? More market rate housing. Yeah. And if the T doesn't come to Fall River, all of these people who invested in market rate housing are going to lose their shirt.
That's right.
And all of those market rate housing apartments are going to become Section 8 apartments.
I'm going to tell you, I'm glad you I didn't see that article till you brought it in. I'll read it later. But that is a real stretch. Walkable.
Yeah.
You can walk it right now.
Right.
But there's nobody here that wants to walk it. What are you
and
gonna
there's
walk?
nothing there.
Exactly.
There's nothing there. And this was part of my argument.
You're going to walk by the courthouse and watch all the people that are going to go in and to go on trial. You're going to walk. Who puts a courthouse in the middle? But Fall River, of course. But you got a courthouse, and you've got virtually nothing downtown anymore.
Right.
So you've got.
As a matter of fact, you know it's pretty bad when a Dunkin' Donuts can't make it in downtown Fall River.
Yeah, there you go.
And I mean, a Dunkin' Donuts right next to the courthouse, and the Dunkin' Donuts couldn't make it.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes.
So, but I mean, look, this is all again pie in the sky.
Right.
We've heard it all before, and that's the tragedy. These people, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Urban renewal. This is urban renewal under a different guise. We had urban renewal, we've had gentrification, we've had all these semantic spins, these euphemisms for people trying to make a buck, and they're not going to make a buck because, like I said, you're nuts. You're going to build all this market rate housing in a city that can't crack the top 200 in education and is #1 in crime, and you think Boston people are going to come here when there's a whole bunch of places between Boston and Fall River that actually have better educational systems and are safer. So why won't they stop somewhere there?
Because it's also along the T line.
It's all along the T line.
That's
That
right.
T doesn't go like, it's not like the Jetsons. You're not flying in a spaceship
That's
from
right.
Boston into Fall River. That T line comes through all the way down the South Coast. Remember? And so why can't they stop in Attleboro and get market rate housing? Why can't they stop anywhere in the vicinity of Attleboro? Because nobody minds, after driving to Boston, taking 2 hours and 2.5 hours to get into Boston, nobody care about being in Attleboro or one of the other surrounding communities and having a 15-minute drive to the T garage.
I want to bring something up here because this is important. You're bringing about Attleboro.
Yeah.
A T station was put in Foxborough.
Yep.
Why was a T station put in Foxborough?
Football.
Exactly.
Football.
That's right. And then what did they do? They created a special fare to go from Boston to Foxborough so people could go to the Patriots games.
Yep.
Tell me that wasn't a bought and paid for deal.
Of course.
Okay? And that's what happened. And I mean, this is what's happening with Fall River. These are bought and paid for deals.
Yeah.
And again, one of our viewers made the comment that, this is the last time I'm going to make comments on the MBTA, but, if the MBTA goes down, Fall River will be the only major city in Massachusetts that doesn't have a connection to the rail system.
Really? Does Springfield have an MBTA station?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No.
That's a pretty major city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agawam doesn't.
Yeah. There's a lot of cities.
Yeah.
The last time I checked, there was, 150 communities in the MBTA?
Yes.
There's 300,
Large and small.
There's 351
Right.
cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts last time I checked.
Right.
So that means there are more without T stations than there are with T stations. So figures don't lie, but liars can figure, and they can manipulate facts. Those facts are not. Those facts are actually not facts. They're propaganda. And the only major city, and it's like, really? Listen, I don't know where their ability to critically think is. Probably stuck in their kidney somewhere like a kidney stone. I don't know.
Don't talk about kidney stones.
Yeah, I know. I just passed one. So and sometimes watching some of these meetings is as painful as passing a kidney stone, believe me. But they've all forgotten the concept of malls. What was mall? How were malls created? They were created with anchor stores.
Correct.
Big stores that would draw people. And then all the smaller stores within the mall would get the overflow traffic because it's like having a sale. You get people into the building. That's the premise of these things. And as you said, Foxborough's a classic example. Yeah, Foxborough could say, yeah, we want a T because it's going to bring people into the football games, and they might, spend some money in Foxborough. Which is not true, probably.
They actually do spend money in Foxborough.
But
why? Because they got restaurants?
Yeah.
When you go to Patriots Place, they've got restaurants, they've got events, they've got movie theaters,
But
they got everything you
spending
want.
it in the Patriots.
That's right.
That's right. They're not spending it in the other. It's like.
But it's generating revenue for Foxborough.
But they don't have any ability in analytics to look at these things. It's like Miami. Miami is now getting straightened out. They got a mayor that's really helping the people. But for years, Miami had one of the greatest tourist areas in the United States, South Beach.
South Beach, yep.
And that place had made millions of dollars, but it wasn't helping. The Fontainebleau, yes, the Fontainebleau. Beautiful hotel. I stayed there once at a convention. It was really great. What a property too, because the property's extensive.
That's why Jazel stayed there.
And it was beautiful, beautiful hotel. But you look at these things and they can't grasp stuff. You look at Miami, they've had a tourist mecca for years, but it didn't help the people. See, this is why you need a mayor and leadership that understands this. Sometimes something can bring money in, but it's going to the wrong place. It's not helping small businesses. It's not helping the average citizen. All you have to do is look across down the road to New Bedford with a mayor who doesn't just give parades and show movies and is oblivious to everything. He's talking about affordable housing. He's doing things in New Bedford all the time for the people of New Bedford. He's talking about things that will elevate the majority of the people in his community, while over here, it's the cabal. The cabal makes all the money. Yeah, I'm not going to discount somebody's going to make money on this deal, because these people don't do things that's not going to line their pocketbooks. But is it going to help the people of Corky Row to have unaffordable rents? You answer that question, because I think even some of these people that are totally delusionary can understand that.
Well, think about it for a second. If they're moving here from Fall River, from Boston to Fall River, maybe they're doing it to buy their drugs. They'll be right in the middle of Drug Central. And guess what? They won't have to worry about walking out of the house. They'll make deliveries.
Yeah, one of the highest crime areas in the city.
Yeah.
That's exactly where they're going to go from. Like, rich people don't look at communities.
I know.
It was like Martha's Vineyard with the signs. Oh, we love illegal immigrants. There's no such thing as an illegal. Send them all. We love them. We love them. We embrace them. They got there. It's like, wow, what? 50 of them. 50 of them.
And they couldn't handle it.
They had the National Guard activated to get them out of there. They were gone one night, and they couldn't sleep in a hotel. They had 90,000 rooms to stick them in, but they weren't going to let them go in a hotel. They stuck them in an auditorium.
Yep, in a church basement.
Church basement somewhere. That's right. But this is the problem. These people are elitists. They're privileged, and they're delusionary. It's like, now, this morning, we're talking about this. It segues me into something that was appalling I saw this morning. There have been 700, and I forgot, 80 some, and I should have written it down, but I was getting ready to come to the show, and almost 800 deaths of illegals this year. And you know what the worst part of that segment was? I saw it. They showed it. They're making graveyards for them, and the graves are being marked with PVC crosses. And they showed the PVC, not even wooden, PVC crosses, these tubes. And then they showed some of the headstone, the markings. And the one they showed the most to make the point of how these people say they care about people, they care about illegals by allowing this massive invasion to continue. Because they don't really care, because with them comes fentanyl that's killing 100,000 Americans every year, and with them comes death. Almost 800 of them have died, and what they showed was one of those crosses, and on that cross was baby John Doe, a child, an infant that had drowned. Infant died. Pregnant women buried there, unknown. Almost 800 this year, the greatest amount in history. Before, they used to have 1 or 2 a year that died. Now, because of this influx, 800 people a year. You're telling me this is something good? Besides the damage it does to the people who live in that area and their properties and stuff? I mean, imagine an infant never got to live because of this. This is an outrage. This is inhumane. And when you see stuff like this, you see these people don't think the way average people think. They're privileged, and they can virtue signal with the best of them. They can pretend that they care. But you're not seeing those immigrants, those 50 immigrants. They didn't get shipped to Lori Lightfoot's house.
Nope.
They didn't get shipped to Nancy Pelosi's estate. You know, none of them. None of them do, and that's the problem. This is outrageous. And the MBTA, you back to them? I want to know if it was even legal for them to do what they did.
Well, you know, and over the weekend, I told you about the article that they had modified in the paper, that it will not cost Fall River, any money in 2023.
Oh yeah, they did it again. They said it once. They kind of tried to bury it with a new headline.
Yep.
And now they're finally admitting that. Guess what? You know what that's an admission of, people? In case you can't figure it out. That's why he didn't take my bet, by the way. He wasn't worried about my income. That's an admission that they know that we're going to start at some point in time, and not very long down the road.
Right.
We are going to be paying, and we're going to be paying for the rest of forever.
That's right.
Until we have a nuclear war that they're trying to.
And
get
even
us
then,
into.
they'll bill us.
And then they still might bill us, but it won't be there anymore. But we have the T forever, and
Right.
that's the thing that upsets me. Look, if the people vote for the T, fine. Now when they cry in 5 or 6 years, like Arlington and Watertown and all these surrounding complain about the millions of dollars they have to give to the T, hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars, then you can go, hey, you're the dimwit that voted for it.
And remember, I don't want to hear if this T bill passes or this T question passes. I don't want to hear from people in 4 or 5 years. Well, we have to make the payments to the T, and we can't afford police now, so we have to cut police and fire, because that's what they're going to do. That's what they always do.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing that's the most disturbing about this is the fact that the people who have sworn an oath and have the public trust and are under the Constitution are supposed to be answerable to us are giving out misinformation and disinformation. This article says 23.
Right.
Paul Coogan has never, to my knowledge, we're not paying a dime right now. Mm-hmm. He's been asked. I've never seen him say prospectively. He's telling a half-truth.
Even the T, when I asked my questions.
That's right. I saw it in the weekend flush.
Yeah, and I took that word for word.
Oh, they did say it's going to increase.
Yes.
It's capped. But what they didn't tell you is that 2.5% is going to change the amount.
Right.
Because when we become an MBTA authority, we get a multiplier principle.
That's right.
When we get a whole new set of the way they compute how much we got to pay them.
That's right.
Because we're just not kind of an ancillary, transit line that's attached somewhere.
And as I brought up in my weekend flush, what effect is that going to have on the current busing system that goes from Fall River to Boston? Because they get state subsidies. What is that going to do to our local transit system, which also gets state subsidies? Remember, there's a lot of stuff that depends on those state subsidies.
Probably has local bus drivers are going to lose their jobs.
Right.
But listen, just in case, if you haven't read CJ's flush, he really breaks it down really well. If you haven't read it yet, read it, because it's laid out very clearly. And maybe even Paul can understand it.
And let me tell you something. I don't make a dime on that flush, so I'm doing it out of the goodness of my heart. But it gets to be very, daunting when you get into arguments in a coffee shop, and you hear the same arguments over and over and over again. If the D question passes, that's what the people want. That's what the people get. Don't come back, because we've been wrong very few times. Very few times.
Well, all we want is full information.
That's it.
Let them vote with accurate information.
Exactly.
Politicians should not be hiding the facts from you.
That's right. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in and watching us today. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday.